Hi, this is Dorothy from taichibosman.com/rawfoodblog. And if you did see this wheatgrass video last week where my husband and I are updating it to give you more light on the subject. So here we go with how to make wheatgrass. And you want to take hard red wheatberries like this. And I'll show you the soft spring ones so you don't get those by mistake. These are also wheatberries. And you use these to make Rejuvelax, a fermented wheatberry beverage. You also use these to make and Wigmore's nuggets, wheatberry nuggets. So they look like this. I wanted to show you the whole bag, but that's okay. Very light colored, but you don't want these, okay? So we want the dark, hard, red wheatberries. And you'll take a cup and put it in a jar. And you can use any old pickle jar with nylon on top. This is just very fortunate to have a really nice sprouting lid with the right size holes. But anyway, you put it in a jar and then fill it with spring water. Enough to cover the seeds quite a bit because they'll soak up most of the water by tomorrow. So that's plenty. And then you need to add something to the water because we're going to grow these hydroponically, which means without soil. So since they're not getting their nutrients from the soil, they have to get their nutrients from somewhere else. So you can put in a few grains of Himalayan crystal salt or Celtic sea salt, or you can put in, what I use is grapefruit seed extract, and I put in 7 drops of this. Or you can put in liquid dulse, which is liquid seaweed, and this bottle I've had for over 2 years. So you spend $7 and it's not a lot of money to last that long. Again, 3 to 4 drops of liquid dulse. So either one, put it in the soak water, cover, and then you set this in the dark for the first day. So anywhere in the dark, like I could set it down here in my wheatgrass and that's plenty dark. And then the next day you pour off the water and put the seeds in the light. So this cup has been sitting for a couple days, and every day I've been watering it and pouring off the water. So just to show you how you do that, you'll just water your seeds. Actually, I'll need a little bit more because I'm going to water my wheatgrass with it. You water your seeds, just pour some water over it and then pour it over your plants. And this is how much water the wheatgrass needs. Not very much at all because you don't have to water the soil, you're just watering the plants. That's all it needs to water with. Now, I'm going to just pour this out here. These seeds have been sitting for 3 days in the light. So after you put them in the dark for 1 day, pour off the water, and then the next day pour water over the seeds again and pour off the water. And then the next day do the same thing. Pour water in the cup again and pour the water off. And then by the 3rd day, probably, depending on how much heat, where you live and all that, by the 3rd day they'll have nice little sprouts. As you can see here, this is the 3rd day for these, and look at how much they've grown. And then you can put it in a tray. Now your tray needs to have holes in it. As you can see, Kevin, my husband, which I'm going to zoom in on you one of these days, Kevin, has holes, so be ready. Has holes so they can drain, right? So you put your seeds in there. And then you just spread them out. And it feels really good too. I have been doing this for 3 years and I always like the feel of sprouts. They just feel really good on your skin. They do. And then you make them so that they overlap a little bit. They have to overlap because you don't want just one strand growing up at a time. You want a nice thick bed of grass, just like you have out on your lawn. So here's what that looks like when you're ready to go. And you just pat it in there, and the seeds like it when you pat them. And then you put this in the darkest place. So this one would go on the bottom of my wheatgrass setup here. I'm going to move this guy over. Move this guy over and put this guy in back. And then every day you want to take water like you saw me do and water your sprouts, and then the drainage holes will come through, will let the water come through to the next layer and the next layer. And if you want to know if you've watered enough, you can lift up the layer. Let me take a better one. If you're wondering if you watered enough, you can lift up the whole layer and just feel underneath there, and it should be damp. It shouldn't be too wet because then you're going to get mold. So this is very, very healthy grass. It's just barely damp. And then it grows about 1 inch a day depending on where you live. So the longest ones here have been growing about 9 or 10 days, and you want to eat your wheatgrass, juice it when it's 6 to 9 inches. That way you get the most nutrients. So this is about the right size, a little bit longer maybe. And then 2 days later start your next batch, and that's how to grow wheatgrass from wheatgrass berries. From Dorothy at taichibozeman.com/rawfoodblog. Enjoy your wheatgrass.